There's a reason you found this video tonight, not yesterday, not next week, now. Because this exact moment, the one you're living right now, is the moment that decides everything. You think you're just tired. You think you're just unlucky. You think Allah is silent. But what if this silence is the sound of something sacred being rewritten? What if this pain is proof that heaven is still working on your story? When Allah chooses a soul for greatness, He doesn't announce it with comfort. He announces it with tests. And right now, whether you see it or not, you are standing in the middle of a divine test that will decide who you become. The old you is fading. The impatient you, the afraid you, the version of you that tried to control everything. And in its place, something new is being born. But births are never painless. This test is not punishment, it's proof. Proof that your name was mentioned above the clouds. Proof that your heart was chosen to carry what others could not. So don't run from this. Don't rush it. Don't hate it. Because this storm, this heartbreak, this waiting is where Allah is building the version of you that will one day thank Him for the very pain you're crying through tonight. If you stay until the end of this video, you'll understand why nothing in your life has gone the way you planned. You'll understand why Allah delayed what you wanted and why He allowed what you never expected. So don't scroll, don't skip, take a breath, sit with me. Let's walk through this test together, because when it ends, you won't just survive it, you'll rise from it. The breaking is the beginning. Sometimes life doesn't warn you before it falls apart. You wake up one morning and the peace you once knew is gone. The people you thought would stay have drifted away. The plans you made don't fit anymore. And suddenly, everything you built begins to crumble. It feels unfair. It feels heavy. You whisper in confusion, why would Allah allow this? But what you're calling destruction is actually construction. It's the start of something unseen, the quiet rebuilding of your soul. When a house becomes too weak to hold weight, the builder doesn't patch the cracks, He rebuilds the foundation. And sometimes Allah allows the walls of your comfort to fall, because He knows the ground underneath needs to be rebuilt. The ending of a chapter is painful because you don't yet see the next one. You only see the dust. You only feel the emptiness. But in that emptiness, He's writing something new. When Allah wants to remake a soul, He doesn't begin with gifts, He begins with growth. And growth never feels gentle. He lets the job end so your purpose can begin. He lets the friendship fade so your dependence can shift. He lets the heart break so your spirit can heal. You might think, why does it have to hurt this much? Because deep change is never painless. If it didn't break you, it wouldn't free you. The world tells you that breaking is weakness, but Allah shows you that breaking is the doorway to strength. When your tears fall, you're not falling apart, you're falling into place. Every tear carries something away. Every heartbreak cleans something inside you. Every collapse removes a false sense of control. Maybe you were too comfortable where you were. Maybe you were praying for growth but holding on to what was small. Maybe the breaking is the only way you'd ever move. Think of the seed buried underground. From the outside it looks like death. The soil is dark. The shell splits open. But in truth, it's birth. The seed doesn't know that the cracking is creation. It only feels the pressure. You're the same. When your heart cracks open, it's not the end, it's where new life begins. You might not see the wisdom right away. You might question everything. That's okay. Allah never asked you to understand. He asked you to trust. When the pain grows louder, fall to your knees. Tell Him, I don't know why this is happening, but I know you are with me. Because He is always. Even when you feel forgotten, you are being watched, shaped, softened, and strengthened. Every collapse is an invitation to meet Him more deeply. The breaking strips away illusions. The false idea that you had control, the comfort that made you forget to pray, the pride that made you believe you didn't need guidance. When all of that falls, what remains is pure. It's you humble, sincere, ready. And that's when Allah begins to fill the empty space with something real. Your old self was built for survival. Your new self will be built for purpose. And purpose can only grow after pruning. The hardest tests are for the most love. There are moments when life hits you so hard that even breathing feels heavy. You look at your reflection and see a version of yourself you barely recognize anymore. And deep down, a whisper begins to grow. If Allah really loved me, why would He let this happen? But that whisper comes from pain, not truth. Because love and ease are not the same thing. The ones Allah loves most are often the ones who cry the most. Not because they are weak, but because their hearts are sacred ground. And sacred ground must be purified. Look around you. Every person who carries light has walked through darkness to earn it. Every strong soul you admire was once on their knees, trembling, unsure and breaking. The truth is, ease rarely builds you, but hardship transforms you. When Allah wants to raise a heart, He tests it again and again until it beats with nothing but faith. The storms you face are not signs of distance. They are signs of depth. They mean heaven has noticed you. You see, the world teaches you that love means protection from pain. But divine love is different. It's the kind of love that saves you through pain. It's the kind that removes what blocks you, even if you cry while it happens. When Allah loves you, He doesn't decorate your life. He strengthens your soul. He doesn't hand you everything you want. He hands you everything you need to grow closer to Him. And sometimes what you need is not comfort, but correction. He will let the people you depended on disappoint you. So you remember to depend on Him. He will let your plans fail. So you remember that your control was never the source of your peace. He will let your heart break so that it can finally learn to love what is eternal. It's painful, I know. But if you've ever prayed for guidance, sometimes this is the answer. Sometimes losing everything is what makes you find what truly matters. The hardest tests come wrapped in silence. They don't always announce themselves as blessings. They arrive like storms, unexpected, unfair, unstoppable. But hidden inside every storm is mercy you can't see yet. You may be thinking, how could pain ever be love? Because love, when it's divine, cares more about your growth than your comfort. It's not interested in leaving you as you are. It wants to elevate you. When you ask to be closer to Allah, He doesn't send you luxury, He sends you lessons. He doesn't send you applause, He sends you patience. Because closeness isn't built in celebration. It's built in the quiet moments when you choose faith even as you cry. He will never waste your tears. Every drop is noticed. Every sleepless night counts. You might not feel it now, but you're being carried through something sacred. Think about it. The people who live in ease often forget Him, but those who walk through hardship speak His name with sincerity. That's why the ones He loves most are often the ones He tests the most. Not to crush them, but to make them unshakable. You are not being punished. You are being polished. The fire that burns you is the same fire that purifies gold. And you are worth refining. Delay is divine precision. There are times when you pray with all your heart and nothing moves. You ask again and again, but the door stays closed. You start to wonder if you're even being heard. You see other people's prayers answered instantly, and you ask, why not me? But what you call delay is often design. It's not rejection. It's divine precision. A plan unfolding behind a curtain you can't yet lift. If only you could see how many things are being aligned for you right now, you would stop asking when and start saying thank you. Every waiting season has purpose. Every silence hides mercy. Every pause protects you from rushing into what's not ready. When you rush, you ruin what could have been beautiful. But when you wait with faith, what's meant for you arrives perfectly wrapped in peace. Think about the Sunday. It never rises a second too early or too late. It comes exactly when the world needs light. That's how divine timing works. Never early, never late, but always right. Sometimes you ask for a blessing and Allah says, not yet. Because if you received it now, it would become a burden. You ask for a relationship, but your heart isn't healed enough to hold it. You ask for success, but your mind isn't humble enough to manage it. You ask for freedom, but you still fear walking alone. So Allah delays, not because He wants to hurt you, but because He loves you too much to hand you something that would harm you in disguise. He delays because He's preparing you. He's teaching you patience, trust, and surrender. You might think nothing's happening, but every day of silence is shifting something inside you. Your strength is being built quietly. Your heart is being softened secretly. Your soul is being tuned to a higher frequency of faith. The delay is where you're taught to walk by belief, not by sight. Because when you finally receive what you've been waiting for, you'll appreciate it in ways you never could before. The wait rewires your gratitude. It turns a blessing into a miracle. So next time you feel stuck, don't think of it as standing still. Think of it as being rooted. A tree must stay buried in darkness for a while before it can rise and bloom in daylight. Your roots are growing right now, even if no one can see them. You are being grounded in wisdom before you are lifted in visibility. Loss is redirection, not rejection. There comes a moment when life quietly takes away what you never imagined losing. The person you counted on walks away. The plan you built your hopes around collapses. The dream you prayed for disappears right before your eyes. You sit in the silence that follows, and it feels like the end. You whisper, why would Allah take this from me? You feel forgotten, unseen, unprotected. But that's only because you are standing in the middle of the story, and the middle never explains the ending. Loss is not rejection. It's redirection in disguise. When something leaves your life, it doesn't always mean you failed. Sometimes it means you outgrew the chapter that held it. Allah removes not to harm you, but to guide you towards something that matches your next stage of growth. Think about how a child cries when a dangerous toy is taken away. They don't understand the reason, they only feel the loss. But the parent knows what that toy could do if it stayed in their hands. That's what divine protection looks like. Painful in the moment, merciful in hindsight. You might not see it yet, but every ending hides an unseen rescue. The person who left may have been keeping you tied to an unhealthy comfort. The job you lost may have been blocking you from discovering your purpose. The door that slammed shut may have been saving you from walking into something that would have dimmed your faith. We often call it heartbreak. Heaven calls it realignment. Loss feels like being pushed backward, but it's actually Allah turning you toward the path that was always meant for you. And sometimes He lets you lose what you love to make room for what will love you better. Peace, clarity, growth, and His closeness. You see, attachment can blind the soul. We start believing that a certain person, a certain dream, a certain life is the only way we can be happy. Then Allah gently breaks that illusion, not because He wants you to live empty, but because He wants you to live free. Freedom is born the day you stop chasing what left and start trusting what's coming. Every loss teaches something no blessing ever could. It teaches humility that we own nothing. It teaches gratitude that even pain has meaning. It teaches dependence, that the one who gave is the only one who remains. You may think you lost something permanent, but nothing in this world was ever meant to last forever. Everything is a visitor, and when its purpose is complete, it leaves. The ones who understand this truth stop clinging and start flowing. They cry, but they don't curse the loss. They grieve, but they don't lose hope, because they know the one who wrote the loss is also the one who will write the replacement. You may not realize it yet, but every loss that once left you breathless was carrying something precious inside it. It was carrying lessons you couldn't have learned any other way. When everything went quiet, when no one came to comfort you, you began to listen in a way you never did before. You started hearing the small voice in your heart that whispered, "You still have me." That voice was never gone. It was just drowned out by noise. Sometimes Allah removes what distracts you so you can finally hear what heals you. When you lose, you are not being punished. You are being emptied so that you can be refilled with what truly belongs to you. The cup has to be poured out before it can be filled with something purer. That emptiness you feel is preparation, not failure. Remember the tree in winter. It looks dead, stripped, forgotten. But inside, new life is forming quietly in the roots. When spring comes, the same branches that looked lifeless will bloom again. Your heart works the same way. Right now, it may feel cold and hollow, but something unseen is growing inside you. Loss teaches you the difference between what was meant for a moment and what was meant forever. It teaches you that not everything broken needs to be fixed. Some things are meant to fall apart so that you can finally stand on your own. When the attachment breaks, dependence is born. Dependence not on people, not on things, but on the one who never leaves. There will be nights when memories replay in your mind like old films. You'll smile, then ache, then question why it had to end. But try to look at those memories as pages that served their purpose. You can keep the lessons without reopening the wounds. One day you'll understand that the people who left made space for peace. The plans that collapsed cleared the way for clarity. The doors that closed led you straight to the one door that was always meant to open. And you'll see that what felt like being left behind was actually being guided forward. Loss forces honesty. It shows you what can be taken and what can't. It strips away illusions until you realize that everything you truly need, your faith, your character, your connection with Allah, cannot be stolen. Slowly, the ache will soften. The pain will stop shouting and start teaching. You'll begin to notice new blessings that wouldn't have fit in your old life. New friends, new dreams, new versions of peace. And you'll whisper to yourself, "I thought I lost everything, but in truth I found myself." Redirection always feels harsh when it starts. You resist it because you don't yet see where it's taking you. But if you keep walking, you'll realize that every twist and turn was guiding you away from what would have destroyed you and toward what will finally fulfill you. So breathe. Don't keep staring at the closed door. Turn around. Light is waiting behind you. What's gone was never meant to stay forever, but what's written for you will always find its way back. Let go with gratitude. Mourn what's gone, but don't curse the author of your story. He knows how every loss will lead you home. And one day, when peace quietly returns, you'll smile at the memory of this pain and say, "If that hadn't left me, I never would have found the life I was meant to live." Because loss was never rejection. It was the gentlest form of redirection. A mercy disguised as an ending, a doorway disguised as heartbreak, and the most beautiful reminder that nothing leaves you without carrying you closer to the one who remains. Trust is born in the dark. There's a kind of silence that makes your heart ache. You sit alone and it feels like nothing is moving. No answers, no signs, no clear way forward. You've done everything right, you've prayed, you've tried, and still life doesn't change. It's in moments like these that faith feels the hardest. Because trust isn't born when things are easy. It's born when everything looks impossible. And you still whisper, "I believe something good is coming." When Allah wants to teach you real trust, He doesn't show you the map. He just says, "Walk." And every step into the dark feels terrifying. But that's where trust begins. Trust isn't proven in sunlight. It's forged in darkness, in nights filled with tears, in prayers that seem unanswered, in the long waits where your only option is to believe. When you can't see a way out, He's teaching you that the way isn't supposed to be seen. It's supposed to be walked by faith. It's easy to trust when life makes sense. But when you lose the job, when the door stays closed, when the news breaks your heart, that's where real trust is tested. It's in the confusion where you learn surrender. It's in the stillness where you learn patience. It's in the heartbreak where you learn to depend not on people, not on plans, but on Allah alone. He will sometimes take away every visible support until you realize that the only thing holding you up was never the world, it was Him. Think about the seed planted deep underground. It's surrounded by darkness. It can't see sunlight. It doesn't know what's happening. All it feels is pressure. But inside that darkness, something sacred is happening. Roots are forming. Life is building. It doesn't look like growth, but it is. That's exactly what happens when Allah hides you in a dark season. It's not punishment, it's planting. He's allowing pressure to shape you so you can rise stronger than before. When you're in the dark, remember, you're not buried, you're being planted. And the darkness you fear is the soil of your becoming. Every soul that's truly strong was once in a place where they saw nothing but pain, yet kept believing that there was meaning. This is what trust looks like. Crying, but not quitting. Waiting, but not doubting. Falling, but knowing you'll be lifted. Allah will take you to places where your logic no longer works, so your faith can finally wake up. You will reach moments when every plan fails. And that's when you'll realize the plan was never yours, it was always His. You might think you're stuck, but you're really being stretched. Your patience is being trained. Your character is being built, and your relationship with Allah is being deepened. Every time you whisper, I don't understand, but I trust you, He writes it down. Not one of those moments is wasted. Even your confusion is sacred, because in that confusion you learn humility. You learn that your wisdom is limited, but His is infinite. When life stops making sense, your heart begins to expand. It starts letting go of the illusion of control. It starts learning the language of surrender. And surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means saying, I don't need to know how, I just know who. That's real trust. It's not passive, it's powerful. It's the kind of peace that says, Inna alayhim. I'll move forward even if I can't see what's next, because I know who's guiding me. Sometimes He delays what you asked for because He's waiting for your heart to become strong enough to hold it. He's teaching you that the gift isn't the answer. The gift is the growth that happens while you wait. When you finally receive what you prayed for, you look back and say, if I had gotten it earlier, I wouldn't have been ready. That's how trust matures. It goes from words on your tongue to calmness in your soul. There will come a day when you face something that used to terrify you, and instead of panicking, you'll smile quietly and say, I've been here before, my Lord carried me through it once, He will carry me again. That's when you know you've learned trust. He will test it again and again until it becomes unshakable, until your heart no longer flinches at closed doors, because you've learned they only mean redirection. When your trust deepens, your fear fades, because you realize that nothing ever truly goes wrong. Everything simply goes His way. Even your darkest night becomes holy when you walk through it with faith, because in that darkness, you start to see what light really means. And one day, when the light returns, you'll understand why He kept you waiting. You'll see that the darkness was never there to destroy you. It was there to teach you how to see. Trust is not built in the easy seasons. It's built in the silence, in the heartbreak, in the uncertainty. And when you walk out of that darkness, you'll be carrying something far greater than what you prayed for. You'll be carrying peace. The kind of peace that no loss, no fear, and no delay can ever take away again. There comes a night in every believer's life when all the lights go out at once. The people who once promised to stay stop answering. The plans that once looked certain suddenly fall apart. And in that stillness, something sacred begins, the birth of pure trust. At first you fight it. You try to fix what's breaking, to make sense of what's gone. You tell yourself that if you just try harder, it will go back to how it was. But nothing does. And eventually, exhaustion replaces resistance. You drop your shoulders, take a breath and whisper, all right, I can't carry this anymore. That whisper is not defeat. It's the first breath of real faith. Because when you finally stop trying to control everything, you create space for Allah to show you He already is. Trust is not a single decision, it's a slow surrender. Some days you feel confident and other days you collapse in doubt. Both count, both are seen. Every small act of choosing to believe again is recorded, even if all you did was wake up and say, I'll try once more today. The dark seasons teach you what no book can. They show you what happens when you lose everything external and discover that your inner light was enough all along. They show you that your worth was never in people's approval, but in the way you kept turning back, quietly, faithfully, even when your hands were shaking. You begin to notice something strange. Each time life removes a support, you fall less and less. Because what once terrified you now feels familiar. You know the pattern: loss, silence, surrender, peace. You know that after the storm there will always be sunrise. That awareness is called spiritual maturity. It's the peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. It's knowing that the author of your story never forgets a single line. You start walking differently, slower, calmer, softer. You stop demanding answers from the world. You begin to thank Allah even for the things you still don't understand. And in that gratitude, your heart starts to glow again. The dark no longer frightens you because you've lived there before. You've cried there, you've prayed there, you've survived there. And now, whenever life grows dim, you simply close your eyes and whisper, I know this place, my Lord meets me here. That is the secret of trust. It's not about always feeling strong. It's about always returning even with trembling hands. It's about walking through the fog, knowing that the one who guided you yesterday will guide you today too. Every delay, every loss, every quiet heartbreak was part of this training. Each one stretched your faith until it became unbreakable. Each one stripped away illusions until only truth remained. And when you finally reach the point where you can look at everything that went wrong and still say, it all worked out for my good, you'll realize that the dark never defeated you. It defined you. Trust is born there. Not in the moments when life is kind, but in the nights when it isn't. It's born in confusion, refined in patience, and completed in peace. So if you're standing in that dark place right now, don't rush to escape it. Stay long enough to feel the quiet arms of mercy around you. Because one day soon, you'll see what all of this was for, and you'll smile through tears and say, that darkness wasn't empty after all. It was full of Him. Silence is also an answer. There comes a time when the noise of life fades and all you're left with is silence. No answers, no signs, no sudden relief, just stillness. You pray and nothing changes. You cry and the sky feels quiet. You wait and the days keep passing. You start to wonder, has Allah stopped listening to me? But the truth is, silence is not distance. Silence is depth. It's the moment when Allah stops speaking to you, so He can start speaking through you. He's not ignoring you. He's transforming you, because silence is the classroom of the soul. And the lessons you learn there will stay with you longer than anything you were ever told aloud. When Allah is silent, He's not withholding mercy. He's teaching you to recognize it in other forms. He's teaching you to feel His presence, not in the miracles you can see, but in the strength you can't explain. The quiet seasons are where your roots grow. It's where your character matures. It's where your heart learns the language of trust. You see, words comfort the mind, but silence strengthens the heart, because silence demands faith without evidence. And that kind of faith, the kind that survives in the dark, is the purest faith of all. You might feel abandoned, but you are not. You're being purified in ways only heaven understands. Every unanswered prayer is actually an answered one, just answered differently. He heard you the first time. He's been writing the response in ways you'll only understand later. Maybe he's teaching you patience. Maybe he's protecting you from something you don't see. Maybe he's preparing a blessing that needs more time to mature. Whatever the reason, his silence is never empty. Sometimes the reason he's quiet is because you're not ready to receive what you're asking for. He wants your hands to be clean of attachment. وَتَقَبَّبِينَ تَعْلَبِينَ. Your heart free of pride, your intentions purified. He doesn't deny. He delays until it will truly serve your soul. Think about how a teacher stays silent during the exam. The teacher isn't gone. The teacher is watching. The silence means you already have what you need. Now show what you've learned. And when you finish, the teacher doesn't just grade your paper, they reward your endurance. That's what Allah's silence is. It's an exam of love, a quiet test of who you are when no one is watching. It asks, will you still believe when you can't feel me? And when you say yes through your tears, He writes your name among those who stayed true. Silence separates the ones who worship for comfort from the ones who worship for connection. Because anyone can say, I trust Allah when life is good, but it takes a special kind of soul to say, I still trust when life grows cold. That soul is rare. That soul is chosen. When Allah is silent, He's polishing that soul into something eternal. He's burning away doubt, fear, impatience, everything that stops you from relying on Him completely. Silence is where surrender begins. It's where you stop begging for things to make sense and start breathing in the peace of not knowing. You stop asking why and start whispering, I trust that there's a reason. And that's when your heart starts to change. You realize you don't need every prayer answered immediately. You just need to know He's near. You start to see His mercy in little things, in a stranger's kindness, in a quiet sunset, in the way your tears somehow bring relief even before anything changes. That's His reply. Soft, subtle, silent, but real. One day you look back and realize that His silence was never neglect. It was protection. It was a shield made of mercy. Because if He had given you what you wanted when you asked for it, you might have lost the very peace you were praying for. His silence is Him saying, I'm saving you from what you can't yet see. So if you're in a season of silence, don't mistake it for absence. The silence is sacred. It's where angels record your patience. It's where your heart rewrites its dependence. Sometimes Allah doesn't give you the answers. He makes you the answer. Your resilience, your peace, your faith, that becomes your testimony. He's not building a moment for you. He's building a version of you that can walk through storms without losing faith in the rain. And that version can only be built in silence. So breathe. Don't rush the quiet. Let it hold you until it teaches you. Because when Allah finally speaks again, you'll understand every pause. You'll realize that the silence wasn't empty. It was echoing with mercy, guiding you to a peace that words could never have given you. And when your heart whispers one last time, where were you? You'll hear the answer deep within your soul. I was here the whole time, watching you grow in the silence. There is a moment that happens after long waiting. You stop checking your phone for signs. You stop replaying every prayer, wondering what went wrong. Something inside you goes still. It's not giving up. It's finally understanding. You realize that silence is not a wall between you and Allah. It's a mirror. It reflects who you become when the noise fades away. Do you panic? Do you complain? Or do you sit with the quiet and whisper, I know you're still here. That's when peace starts growing. Where pain used to live, you begin to notice small things again. The way the wind touches your face, the way your chest rises and falls while you breathe, the way a new day always follows the night. These aren't random details. They are soft reminders that creation itself is speaking. Even when the Creator is silent, you start seeing meaning in everything. The unanswered message that protected your heart, the delay that taught you patience, the loneliness that pushed you to finally talk to your Lord, not with fancy words, but with honesty. Silence cleans you like rain. It washes away the layers of noise until what's left is real. And in that raw stillness, you meet a version of yourself that was buried under hurry and fear. You learn to rest without needing to know the next step. You learn that being held by Allah doesn't always feel like being carried. Sometimes it feels like being still. The world might look at you and think you're stuck, but heaven looks at you and smiles, because stillness is where your faith grows roots. And rooted faith is unshakable. One night, after crying yourself to sleep again, you'll wake up and notice something different. The ache is still there, but it no longer controls you. You'll sit in the same room that once felt suffocating and realize you can breathe. That's how quietly Allah works. He doesn't always remove the test. It transforms you inside it. That transformation happens so slowly, you barely notice it. But one day, you look back and see the evidence everywhere. The same silence that once terrified you became the place where you found clarity. The same unanswered prayers became the doors that led to something better. That's the secret of divine silence. It's never about ignoring you. It's about inviting you to rise higher than words. When Allah is quiet, He is giving you a chance to believe without proof, to love without guarantees, to hope without visible signs. And that kind of faith, silent, patient, unseen, is the faith of the closest hearts. If you are in that space right now, where the world is quiet and your heart is tired, don't see it as punishment. See it as permission. Permission to pause, to heal, to listen. Sit by yourself and say softly, maybe the silence is not empty. Maybe it's full of lessons. And keep showing up. Keep doing good. Keep whispering gratitude, even if you don't feel it yet. Because that's how you pass the test of silence. Not by breaking it, but by filling it with trust. Then, when Allah finally answers, it will make sense why He waited. You'll hear His response, not in the thunderclap, but in the calmness that settles over you. You'll realize that the silence itself was His mercy all along. And when your story reaches that point, you'll smile through tears and say, if He had spoken sooner, I would never have learned to listen. That is the hidden beauty of this lesson. His quiet was never absence. It was the gentle voice of love teaching you how to find Him in everything that doesn't speak. Surrender is the real victory. There comes a point in every journey where you run out of strength. You've tried everything. You've prayed, planned, pushed and hoped, but nothing moves. Doors stay closed. Dreams stay delayed. People stop understanding you. And somewhere between trying and breaking, you whisper the words you never thought you'd say, I can't do this anymore. But what if that sentence isn't a sign of defeat, but the first step toward real victory? Because the moment you finally say, I can't, you make room for the one who always can. That's surrender. Not giving up, but giving in to what was never yours to control. You see, most of us live our days believing we can hold the whole world together with our hands. We plan every detail, chase every outcome, and when things fall apart, we blame ourselves. But the truth is, you were never meant to carry what only Allah can hold. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop forcing. It's the quiet shift from, what if it doesn't work, to, even if it doesn't, I'll still be okay. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Surrender is what happens when your faith grows heavier than your fear. When you finally understand that peace was never in controlling the plan, it was in trusting the planner. The world calls surrender losing, but heaven calls surrender winning. Because the soul that bows to Allah is the only soul that stands unshaken before the world. Think of the sea. Waves crash, storms roar, but deep beneath the surface, the water is calm. That's what surrender feels like inside a believer. Everything outside can move, but the heart stays still. Sometimes Allah lets you exhaust every option so that surrender becomes the only door left. Because He knows that once you walk through it, you'll never want to go back. You'll realize that every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every failed attempt was Him quietly leading you to this moment. The moment you stop fighting life and start flowing with it. Surrender is not the end of effort, it's the beginning of ease. When you truly surrender, you still work, you still strive, but the desperation leaves. You stop chasing outcomes, you start focusing on intentions. You do your part and you let Him handle the rest. And when you do, life starts to breathe again. You begin to see beauty in places you once saw only pain. You notice how things fall into place without your control. You feel lighter because you finally laid down what was never yours to carry. Surrender is saying, I trust you even when I don't understand you. And those who live by that sentence find a peace this world cannot break. There will be days when surrender feels unnatural. You'll wake up wanting answers again, checking if life has changed overnight. And when it hasn't, you'll feel the old urge to panic. That's okay. Surrender isn't a switch you flip once. It's a practice you return to every time you forget. Each time you choose calm over control, you deepen it. Each time you say, Ya Allah, I leave it to you, you reinforce the bridge between worry and peace. Slowly, you'll start to understand that life was never supposed to go your way. It was always supposed to go the right way. And the right way often looks wrong at first. The heartbreak that humbled you, the delay that saved you, the rejection that redirected you, they were all roads leading you back to surrender. When you finally reach this point, you stop fighting reality. You start embracing it as part of a larger mercy. And in that acceptance, you find the victory the world can't see. You begin to smile even when things aren't perfect. You start thanking Allah for closed doors. You stop asking, why me? And start whispering, use me. That's what a victorious heart sounds like. You realize that surrender doesn't take power away. It gives it back. Because the moment you surrender to Allah, nothing else can control you. Not fear, not people, not outcomes. Surrender breaks every chain except the one that leads to peace. And when you finally reach that state, you feel a quiet strength rise inside you. You look at your life and see how every no was actually a not yet. How every disappointment was secretly a detour towards something better. That understanding changes everything. You stop rushing. You stop begging. You start trusting. Now, when the storm hits, you don't ask for it to stop. You ask for the strength to stand through it. And somehow you do. Not because it got easier, but because you got softer. You learned how to bend without breaking. That softness is not weakness. It's divine resilience. It's the glow that comes from a heart that has learned surrender. The same waves that once drowned you now carry you. The same pain that once scared you now teaches you, because you finally understand that nothing was ever against you. It was always for you. So tonight, if you feel tired of holding on, let go. Let go of trying to control what you can't. Let go of forcing what was never written. Take a breath, close your eyes and say, I surrender, but not in defeat, in faith. That's not giving up. That's rising higher than fear. Because in surrender, you stop asking for a life without storms and start asking for a heart that can sail through them. And that, my dear friend, is the real victory. There comes a stage long after the tears have dried when you finally see what surrender has done to you. You look at the same road that once frightened you and now it feels peaceful. The same uncertainty that once made you restless now feels like freedom. That's what surrender changes, not your situation but your sight. You start to notice the quiet signs of mercy that were always there. The friend who showed up at the right moment, the delay that kept you from a bigger loss, the strength that appeared just when you thought you couldn't take another step. These are not coincidences. They are the proof that when you stopped clinging, the universe itself began to carry you. The more you let go, the lighter you walk. You no longer chase explanations for everything that happens. You begin to trust the rhythm of your own story. You start living with open hands, doing your best, giving your all, and leaving the rest in the hands of the one who never fails. That is what true power feels like. A soft heart inside, an unbreakable calm. You stop being moved by every storm because you know who sends the wind. You stop trying to control people because you realize they too are part of the plan. You stop blaming yourself for what ended because you see that even endings can be gifts. Surrender teaches you to breathe differently. You take slower breaths. You talk to Allah more quietly, more often, more honestly. Your prayers stop sounding like demands and start sounding like conversations. Whatever you choose for me, you say, I will trust it even if it hurts. And that single sentence is enough to shift your whole life. Because once you surrender, life stops being a battle and becomes a journey. Every challenge turns into an invitation. Every fall becomes a lesson. Every unanswered prayer becomes a protection you didn't recognize. You begin to understand that control was never real. It was an illusion built from fear. And the moment you drop that illusion, peace rushes in to take its place. Some nights, surrender will still feel hard. You'll wake up wanting to fight again, to fix, to push. But now, something inside will remind you, calm down. You don't need to fix what Allah is already arranging. And that thought alone will steady your heart. When people wrong you, you won't rush to defend yourself. You'll simply say, He knows. When plans fall apart, you won't panic. You'll whisper, maybe this wasn't mine to begin with. When blessings come, you'll smile wider because you'll know they arrived not by force, but by grace. That is victory, not in conquering the world, but in conquering your own restlessness. Victory is walking through chaos and still choosing serenity. Victory is being able to sit with uncertainty and not lose faith. Victory is waking up with nothing planned and still saying today will be good because He wrote it. And then one day, someone will ask you how you stay so calm. You'll smile and answer softly, I stopped fighting the ocean, I learned how to float. That is the secret of surrender. You stop drowning in what you can't control and you let the current of trust carry you where you are meant to be. At last you understand that real victory isn't in getting your way. It's in trusting that His way is always better. And when your heart reaches that level of peace, nothing can shake it again. So tonight, let it all go. Lay down the weight of questions that have no answers. Rest in the truth that every step you take is already known. And when you close your eyes, say quietly, I surrender not because I'm weak, but because I finally understand strength. Then breathe. Because that breath you just took is proof of victory. The victory of a soul that finally made peace with the plan. You were chosen for this test. There's something you need to hear tonight. Something that may change how you see your entire life. You are not in this test because you are cursed. You are not being punished. You are being chosen. Chosen by the one who never makes mistakes. Chosen for a story that will heal others. Chosen to carry a lesson that only a heart like yours could bear. It hurts, doesn't it? To wake up each day with the same ache. To smile in front of people when your chest is full of tears. To keep believing when your prayers seem to echo back in silence. But you're still here, still breathing, still trying. That alone is a sign that your story isn't over. You've been wondering, why me? But one day you'll whisper, Now I understand. Because Allah only tests the ones He intends to raise. He doesn't break souls. He doesn't plan to rebuild stronger. He doesn't choose hearts. He doesn't plan to purify. He looked at you, at your past, your wounds, your hidden goodness, and said, this one will carry light through darkness. It may not feel like light right now. It may feel like drowning. But what's drowning you today will one day teach you how to walk on water. Every single test you faced was written with precision. Even the heartbreaks, even the delays, even the nights you cried alone, nothing was random. Every pain was a page in your becoming. Think about it. Akanakuma al-Rabb. There are millions of souls who never experienced what you did, but He picked you because He saw in you a heart that could survive what would destroy others. He saw the kind of soul that could transform pain into compassion. That's what chosen means. It doesn't mean easy. It means trusted. Trusted with weight, trusted with wisdom, trusted with wounds that would one day become healing for someone else. Maybe that's why your heart feels so heavy, because it's holding the lessons heaven is writing through you. You may not see it yet, but this test is not happening to you, it's happening for you. It's shaping something you can't name now, but one day you'll look back and realize you became the person you always prayed to be. Not because life was kind, but because it was honest. Pain has a way of teaching what comfort never could. And that's why some souls are chosen to walk harder roads. Not because they did something wrong, but because Allah knows what they're capable of. He never sends you to a battlefield empty-handed. He equips you long before the fight begins. The patience you're learning right now, the strength you didn't know you had, these are weapons built in silence. Every tear you've cried was polishing your faith. Every loss was hollowing your heart so it could be filled with something divine. When Allah chooses you for a test, He's not testing your worth, He's revealing it. There are people who may never understand your pain. They'll look at you from the outside and think, why can't they just move on? They don't know how deep your nights go. They don't know how many times you've prayed with shaking hands, asking for peace just long enough to sleep. But Allah knows. He saw every time you held back tears in front of others. He saw the moments you almost gave up but didn't. He saw the days you smiled while breaking inside. And He wrote them all down as acts of worship. You may not have shouted your faith from rooftops, but every breath you took through pain was a testimony louder than any words. The angels have recorded your endurance. The skies have carried your whispered du'as. And even if no one else ever says it, He's proud of you, because the kind of patience you're showing right now is the patience of the chosen. Not the perfect, not the fearless, but the chosen. Those who feel everything deeply and still stay gentle. Those who don't understand everything but still trust that there's meaning. Those who fall but rise again, not because they're strong, but because their Lord lifts them every single time. You were not meant to live an ordinary story. Your pain was a message wrapped in mystery. It's shaping you into someone who can carry light into rooms where others only see darkness. And one day, when someone else sits in front of you, broken the way you once were, you'll hold their hand and say, I've been there and I promise you'll survive this too. That's when you'll understand why you were chosen. Because you'll see how your own test became someone else's lifeline. That's how heaven works. It multiplies your suffering into mercy, your heartbreak into healing, your silence into strength. This is the golden whisper you need to remember. You weren't forgotten. You were handpicked. Your name was called in a way only heaven could hear. And this test you hate so much right now, it will one day be the very reason you find peace. The ones who are chosen walk through storms, not because they enjoy the rain, but because they are being washed clean by it. And when the sky finally clears, they rise, shining, softer, wiser, and unshakably calm. So tonight, when your heart asks, why me? Tell it gently, because He saw something in me worth refining. And when the silence feels heavy, remind yourself, This isn't punishment, it's preparation. You were chosen for this test because your soul was built for this climb. And when you reach the top tired, scarred, but glowing, you'll realize the climb itself was the miracle. Because the real victory was never in escaping the test. It was in discovering that you were never alone inside it. So breathe, beloved soul. You were chosen for a reason. Not to break, but to bloom through the storm. And when you finally do, the world will look at you and see a survivor. But heaven will look at you and see something far greater. A servant who was tested, refined, and chosen for love. There will come a day when you stop asking, why me? The question itself will dissolve into quiet gratitude, because you'll finally see that every tear, every setback, every night that felt endless was a chapter in a story too perfect to have been written by you. At first, the truth will hit softly, maybe while you're sitting alone, watching light fall through the window. You'll remember a moment you thought would destroy you, and suddenly you'll realize it built you. That realization will break you open again, but this time, not from pain, from awe. You'll see how the loss that emptied your hands made space for better things to arrive. You'll understand how the delay that tortured your patience was timing every miracle to perfection. You'll look at the people who walked away and whisper, you were never meant to stay. You were sent to teach me. This is what chosen feels like. It's not applause, it's awareness. It's the quiet knowledge that you survived something that once convinced you that you wouldn't. Chosen souls carry invisible medals, not of fame, but of endurance. Not of noise, but of quiet grace. They walk differently, lighter, slower, grateful for small things. Because once you've seen how fragile everything can be, you stop taking peace for granted. Being chosen doesn't mean you never fall again. It means that each time you do, you rise faster because you know who's lifting you. You stop fearing failure because you know every fall now serves a purpose. Chosen souls often walk alone for a while. Not because they're abandoned, but because their path is too sacred to be crowded. They learn solitude not as punishment, but as a meeting place with the divine. And in that quiet companionship, they find a love that no human could ever replace. You will notice this love in strange ways, in the timing of a comforting message, in the coincidence that saves you from harm, in the way a prayer you forgot you prayed suddenly unfolds years later. That's how the one who chose you speaks, through moments that feel like whispers only you can hear. Eventually you'll realize that every test was an introduction to faith, to patience, to yourself. Each hardship was a doorway, each heartbreak a bridge, each silence a message saying, come closer. And you did, even when you thought you were failing. You were walking home. Now, when new storms approach, you no longer panic. You close your eyes and say, I've been through worse, and I found light there too. That sentence alone is proof of transformation. You are no longer the person who once begged for the pain to end. You are the person who carries it like a teacher, grateful for what it revealed. That is the mark of the chosen. They don't just survive, they understand. You'll see your reflection one day and barely recognize yourself. Not because you've changed on the outside, but because your eyes will hold something sacred. The calm of someone who has seen the storm and found peace inside it. You'll start thanking Allah not just for what He gave, but for what He took, for what He delayed, for what He protected you from without you knowing. You'll realize that He didn't choose you to suffer. He chose you to awaken. He saw the good in you hidden beneath pain, and He refused to let the world keep it buried. So when you feel the test tightening again, when the silence returns, when the path seems too long, remember this. You are not being tested again because you failed. You are being refined again because you passed. Each test takes you closer to the person you were always meant to be. Strong, soft, humble, and unbreakably connected to your Creator. And when the final page of this test is written, He will show you what it was all for. You will see every thread of your story woven perfectly. Every unanswered prayer tied to a mercy that never left. That is the golden whisper. You were never forsaken. You were being written into something eternal. So tonight, when you close your eyes, don't cry because of the test. Smile because of the trust. You were trusted with something sacred, something only you could carry, something that would one day turn into light for someone else. You were chosen for this. And the day you finally understand that, you'll realize you were never in a test. You were always in the process of becoming beloved. You made it here after everything. After the tears, the confusion, the waiting, the silence, you're still here. And that means something sacred. وَلَوْ إِن نَابَ عَلَيْهِ. You didn't give up on Allah, even when you didn't understand Him. Maybe this was never about the outcome. Maybe it was about who you became while waiting for it. Every tear you cried was recorded. Every prayer you whispered was heard. You didn't fail your test. You lived it. You breathed it. You survived it. And that's what made you chosen. If you've been wondering when life will finally ease, know this. Ease doesn't always arrive outside you. Sometimes it blooms quietly inside you. The day you stopped chasing answers, the day you surrendered your control, the day you said, Ya Allah, I trust your plan even when I don't see it. That was the day the test turned into transformation. Because victory doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes victory is a single breath after the breakdown. Sometimes it's a smile no one sees. And sometimes it's just staying kind in a world that wasn't kind to you. You see, the test was never about proving yourself to Allah. It was about discovering that He was with you all along. Every delay protected you. Every loss redirected you. Every silence taught you how to hear His voice without words. So tonight, breathe. Don't fear what comes next, because the hardest parts are already behind you. You are no longer being tested, you are being trusted. And when you wake up tomorrow, walk gently, speak kindly, carry yourself like someone who has walked through fire and come out shining, because that's what you are now. Not broken, not behind, but reborn. The test didn't change you for the worse. It revealed who you really were. Someone Allah never stopped believing in. This test from Allah didn't destroy you. It decided you. It shaped the version of you that was strong enough to hold the blessings that are coming. So smile. Your story was never about pain. It was always about preparation. And when the next test comes, remember this moment. You've already faced worse. You've already passed greater storms. Because once Allah chooses you, the test stops being about survival and starts being about becoming. You were chosen for this. You passed. And now Allah is writing your peace.